So what I basically want to deal with is I want to get into some practical applications. That's why I stopped Ghimel last weekend, because it's the first time we got into the number part, and he played around with that sword thing, that little trident thing and stuff like that. And I told you, you're not supposed to build it physically. I told you that last week.
Yes.
You're not supposed to go out there knocking on pieces of tin and bronze and stuff like that. It's not totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. But you are supposed to build it in your mind. But you are not supposed to specifically build it in your mind the way he described it. Everyone is an individual. It has to be built in relationship to self. And you use your hands. You use your hands. You know, if you enjoy the thought form of the sword, you can do it like that with 3 fingers. If you do that, you use your right hand and you put your little finger, and your thumb together like that. And it's very effective for the simple reason, if you've ever dealt with me jewelry-wise, I know you guys have, I know Alan knows a lot of this, so, but it's good for him to get a little refresher. The strongest place on your left, energy coming in on the left, out on the right, strongest place is the little finger, left hand. So anyway, if you do it and you have your right little finger and right thumb touching like that, or overlapping a little bit, see what you're doing is you're actually recycling most of the physical energy into self, and all you're using the fingers for is to remove anything. Anything. Now, you can do it like this, and actually remove emotion. But the main thing he deals with is just like the kid asked me last week and stuff, is on lavas and stuff like that. It can't really hurt you, but you can go all the way out like that. You can project that. You can project that 100 miles. Probably the best magicians on the planet. Definitely the 2 strongest at Sissy would be the lady in Africa and the lady in Australia, where they're still, what do you call it? They're still ethnically tribal. They still live in, you know what I mean? They're not involved in this. Particularly the lady, right. They've maintained a lot of their cultural identities, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of power there. There's a hell of a lot of power there. But your basic job is just in cleaning self, but you have to use your right hand. You can't use your left. See if you did it with your left hand, what would you be doing? You'd be taking it in. Okay? So the thing to remember, and it's a good exercise, it's something that's real fun for you to do. You can really feel the difference while you're doing it. You have to remember, you have to go up over your head, down like this, all the way down to where you're pointing at the ground, and you have to slowly turn while you're doing it. You have to keep doing it, and you have to slowly turn counterclockwise. That means your left shoulder would slowly be going backwards. You'd slowly make a circle. You don't want to move clockwise. You want to move counterclockwise.
Right.
If you're moving clockwise, you are constantly carrying it with you. You are constantly moving time with you. See, Now, we start getting into these etherics, and a lot of it is contrary to a lot of your basic science, but believe me, it works. You see, by moving counterclockwise, you're actually moving into time instead of with it. In other words, if you have anything on you, it's already there. So you're moving backwards to remove it. Everything is thought. Everything is thought. If I go like this, and I keep going like this, I'm constantly discharging and moving away from me the same thing because it's moving with me. If I move this, stop moving like this, I'm going like this, and then I'm going with the stuff that's a little older and a little older and a little older until I make the whole circle. See? So it's the concept. And for any of this stuff to work, you have to get a hold of the concept. You have to build the concept. You have to build the concept. And concepts, when you're removing these things, most of these things are not, none of you have anything on you that's been placed there by someone else. If you did, I'd automatically have told you about it and tell you how to get rid of it. I mean, that's a gift. Most of these things that an individual has are things that they've allowed or even created themselves. You know, I mean, you either allowed it or created it yourself. So you're just going back, and so you're going, well, I'm pretty dissatisfied with my relationship. Well, how did you create that? Where'd that come from? Oh, bit. I'm dissatisfied with the way my daughter's acting. Bit. I'm dissatisfied because all of a sudden my old lady don't want to get laid anymore. Bit. Whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Just everything you can think of. And those type of cleansings are very effective. They're very effective. I mean, you do the rainbow meditation first, you get all that emotion pretty straightened out, and they can be very effective. The thing that you really have to watch, particularly while you're just beginning a program like this, is you have to be very, very, very careful that you don't allow yourself any anger while you're doing that. You cannot do this while you're angry.
Why not?
And if you cheat, Alan, I will get you. I will.
I'm sure.
It is so easy to harm someone by accident. It is so easy to harm someone by accident. I'll give you a classic example. There was this really powerful woman that was in one of my groups back in the 70s, 80s, somewhere back. Her younger sister was really powerful. And we'd be driving down the road, and you know how sometimes there's butt heads in front of you, just going a little too slow, but hogging the road at the same time so you can't safely get by and stuff. See, she'd get mad and the guy'd have a flat tire. That's not fair.
No.
It's not fair. You see what I mean? So you never do this angry. All you're doing is strengthening self. That's actually what you're doing when you do this. You're strengthening self. You're getting stuff removed, and at the same time you're removing it, as you're going like this, you're reinforcing this shell, this protective shield around yourself, constantly reinforcing that nice little elastic protective shield, just removing stuff from your spirit body. It's possible, don't try it yet, it's possible by the time we get into the 16th, 17th card, you might even be able to use it to remove karma. I've talked to you a little bit about karma, right? Well, everybody's got to do everything. That's the only way you get it done. That means you got to kill somebody and be killed, you know. But you know, you're supposed to have done all that a couple of thousand years ago. We don't need it now. But we still have these little pieces, little peanuts of karma that hang on. And it's possible to actually remove them. You know, but we'll get to that when we get there. But it's your thought, it's your center, it's right there, it's your concept that makes any of this work. Your concept. I mean, look at Cindy. I mean, Cindy's sitting there, and she's actually doing the physical part of removing this thing from a wonderful lady that the doctors couldn't take care of. I mean, they couldn't take care of it. They couldn't take care of it. She'd been dealing with him for a long time. I started talking to her a month ago. She couldn't close her hand. No, she could close her hand, it's going down. I mean, you see? So it's the concept. It's putting yourself in that space to achieve that's what you wish. See, I use the word magician, in your two cases it would be priestess. That individual that has that power, it's based on right use of will. It's your will. Everything we do, everything we teach you is to strengthen your will, to give you more control over your will. So when you remember we did the meditation, contemplation, concentration. So at choice, by the time we're at just the 10th or 11th card, at choice, you will automatically be able to go right into that concentration point. So the only thing that you're expressing is will. Without questioning self, without questioning anything else, it's absolute trust in self. You'll automatically be able to go there. So you'll be able to turn around and go, man, I don't have time to stop for gas, I'm riding on E, and this goddamn car's going to get me there and then make it to the station in the morning. I mean, you can do that. Okay? But you can't turn your ex-husband into a frog. Either one of you. So you're dealing with that. And then when he tries to get into describing the different aspects of larvae, but the concept, and this is so critically important, the concept of something is based on self. Just like when I say, oh, that's a red can. We don't really know what the other people see. It's just one of them things in the matter of developing language and consciousness that everybody agreed that was red. But we really don't know what the other person sees. We can't experience it. Even if they pick that color of paint, it's still just what we've all agreed. We do not know. You cannot even know what your sister thinks something is unless you're telepaths. We do not know what the other person sees, smells, tastes, hears, and feels. The only thing that limits us to our five senses is those things we have agreed on as a community. There's an occasional schizophrenic, there's occasionally someone that sees something or smells something so radically different, and they may be advanced beings, but we lock them up. But you see, the five senses we agree on. We all know what fresh mown grass smells like. But that doesn't mean you smell the same thing I smell.
Right.
See? There are people that feel extreme. This is a good example. There are people that feel extreme pleasure when they're petting, that preliminary aspect of lovemaking. People feel extreme pleasure, and there are actually people that feel pleasure from pain, from what we consider pain. See, so never judge what the other person is dealing with sensually, except to the extent, to the part that's agreed upon. That's a very, very critical concept here. You're turning around and you're going to say, well, I feel that I have this little hang-up, and that's a good word for love. Psychological or minor neurotic hang-up. That's an acceptable definition of a lie. But when you're throwing yours away, when you're putting it to it, throwing yours away, you cannot do that for someone else, because you cannot know what they see, smell, taste, hear, and feel. This is how the occult philosophy, this is actually the reason it stayed occult. Until a couple of centuries ago, there was no difference between black and white men. You've always had a couple of successful brujas or alchemists or people like that you could go to, and they'd make your husband be faithful or whatever. I mean, there's always been people like that, but it's never been important enough to distinguish between the two. It became important enough to distinguish when industrialization started, the world started expanding, more and more things are available and happening, everything's more intense, and some people just wanted all of it. Some people just wanted all of it. They wanted to control everything. Now, you've always had, 500 years ago, you had the Duke or the Prince or whatever that owned the castle and all the land, and everybody just worked and gave them 10% of what they grew and stuff. But they sort of had their own house and boom, boom, boom and stuff like that. There wasn't any, but that difference between the sort of greedy control freaks and the average Joe Blow, it was pretty well defined. And the system in society has evolved to the point where now it is very easy for someone to take advantage of others mentally. Really very easy to do. Just like if somebody comes charging at me with a knife or a gun or something, I can knock them down while they were still 20 foot from me. It's just as easy to make someone think the way you want them to, and see, that's black magic. That's what we're talking about. This is as we start breaking into the fourth arcana next week, that's what we're talking about. The nurturing of the whole has to be there. The real power comes from recognizing your oneness with the whole. The job is not to change it. Yeah.
I know we don't intentionally do that, but can we unintentionally do that? Control someone's thoughts?
I have to say at this point that in the course of an individual's development, no matter how careful they are, no matter how much they may try not to, yeah, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. If it's inadvertent, if it's inadvertent, I mean, you actually didn't will it, it's fine.
Yeah, like my client, send me that check.
That has little or nothing to do with your esoteric development. I mean, you're dealing with three-dimensional reality in that part,
Right.
and there's absolutely nothing wrong there. I just sent 10 people a message to 10 people that have been on a blog for a whole year. You know, that next year's subscription's due. Do you know what I mean? I mean, $65 a year ain't a lot of money, and
Right.
and the next one is due, and I got to pay it on the 28th. That's one of the reasons we're going up the mountain, because most of them ain't responded yet, and some of them are pretty active. Well, you know, I mean, if they don't pay, I'll knock them off the blog.
Yeah, that's different. That's business.
But, see, that's business. But I'm not going to turn around and send them a thought form, send me the goddamn money. Actually, if any of them write and say, well, I just really don't have $65 right now, I'll say, fine, deal with it when you can. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not, that part there is fine. If you turned around and dealt with the concept, come up with a concept, and then willed her on because she fucked you over for 50 grand, right? See, that is wrong.
Right. Yeah. I'd never do. Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? But as you develop your ability, you'll never know if you really have it until you try it. A little catch-22 there. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, there's a little catch-22 there. Okay? People in New Zealand who are doing really, really good. I told them, I mean, there are penguins in New Zealand, but they're over 100 miles from where they live, and they're down on the coast. I told them to manifest a penguin. That was their test. Manifest a penguin at their house. Their son's buddy from the next village over comes over to visit, and he's got this giant stuffed penguin, and it's actually named Carl. It's got the same name. I said, that's good enough. That's good enough. I mean, they damn sure didn't know the kid was going to bring a penguin over in 2 weeks. Do you see what I'm saying? See, so, you know, but you do have to test yourself. You do have to test yourself. We got an exercise that I'd like everyone to try. You go to a drugstore. They're very, very inexpensive. You know, they get these little strips now you put on your forehead for temperature instead of sticking a thermometer in your mouth. And get 2 of them. Hold one of them in the palm, like that, where you're holding it against your palm. Of your left hand, and the other one in the palm of the right hand. And just sit there. This is how you're going to learn concentration now. This is how you're going to develop your strength. Now your body temperature, 98.6, that's average human body temperature. See? We want this one to go down to 93.6, the left, and we want the right to go up to 103.6. And it's just a matter of focus. It's just a matter of focused will. This is how we teach you how to stay healthy. This is how we teach you how to do what Cindy's doing for Farrellin right now. This is how a son of a bitch that drinks and smokes and gets in fights and everything like me can still be functioning like this at 88. See, you control self. And that's a very easy exercise. I'm not saying you're going to get it in the first 10 or 12 times you try it, but I'll guarantee you within 2 or 3 times you're getting a degree or two. I mean, you'll be getting a degree or two. You want 5. When you can get a 10-degree difference between the 2 hands, you can remove any disease in your body within reason. I mean, you can really maintain it. Very easy exercise, very easy to, and it's fun. It's fun, particularly when it starts working. Believe me, it's fun. Because what it does, it gives you so much confidence, you start just, see? It gives you so much confidence. Very easy exercise. While you're doing your rainbow, while you're doing your little rainbow meditation, when you get right there to the blue spot, push it out, make your right hand warm up and your left hand cool down, or vice versa. And just tell that to keep happening while you're pushing the rest of the stuff down, and then look at your things. And play with it, it's fun. It's fun. Very easy exercise. And probably the most empowering, real easy tool that you'll ever get to really get that I self built up. This thing works with I self. This stuff works with I self. The difference between this and commercial religions is there's no humility involved. There's no destruction of ego, there's no humility. It's you. It's your power, it's yourself, it's you. You're doing it all. All you got is somebody telling you the little tricks in order to be able to do it. But you have to know it and not believe it. And the way you know it is by doing it. See, that's one of the things, because of these nice little scripts they made. That's one of the things that's real easy to test on, real easy to do, and a lot of fun. And a lot of fun. I mean, you use the passive side for a lot of things, but when you're going to control something, when you're going to do something, it requires the active dominant side. You have to dominate, you have to let the active side be totally dominant to do it. Okay, questions?
You started to say earlier about something about when we were getting rid of the larvas.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're using your mentally.
Right.
So watch here. I'll draw on the board a little bit. I'm not going to keep it just all around it. Let's see. So let's just say It's not actually like that. It follows your body contour. That's your health aura, then your mental aura, then your emotional body, and then your spirit body, which is way out there. Okay? Now, the larvae that we talk about are these little abstract thought forms that are floating all over the place. You know, there's always angry people, there's always happy people, there's always sick people, there's always healthy people. All these thoughts and feelings are all over the ether. So all of a sudden you don't feel too good. Or maybe because you're pissed off at somebody or something like that. Well, one of these little things will just latch onto you right there. See? Or out here. Well, you want to get rid of them while they're out there. You want to get rid of them while they're out there until you get this shield built really, really perfect. I still clean myself like that all the time. Even with an exceptional shield. You want to get them out there. I quite frequently run into situations where something's over here. They had to start out there because it's not a piece of karma. And it worms its way through there, and then worms its way through the emotional body, and it ends up actually touching the physical vehicle itself. Once it does that, you got a problem. Once it actually touches your body, once that thing worms its way in and actually touches you, you got a problem. I mean, you got a problem. A recognizable, serious problem. Well, the doctor can sit there and pump you full of pills and antibiotics and cut you open and everything else. And the problem's going to keep coming back until you get rid of that thing. So that's why doing that is nice, because it stops those things from ever developing. And if these things don't develop, the only way you're going to get a serious disease is to somehow have it be allowed environmentally. Now, when I say serious disease, I'm talking about a lot of the emotional crap that people go through, and we all go through. It's like, you know, there can be a lob around here that says, hey, I'm a piece of crap. And it finally gets in there like that, and all of a sudden you stop feeling like you're worthless. That's a lobber too. So you keep them out of there. Okay? And that's why he talks about the lobbers like that. Those are external situations. Those are things that are coming from out in the ether. Okay? Karmic situations, things that you still have to do, they're still going to show up out there as discoloration in your spirit body, but you basically got to do them unless they're small enough that you can get rid of them once you get your abilities developed a little better. One of the biggest problems we have when we're doing this work is when we get a larva, and we refer to these more as like salamanders. Then instead of starting out there, actually starts in here in your emotional body. Actually starts in your emotional body. How do them things happen? Well, them things happen because all of a sudden you're unhappy with your partner and your partner's unhappy with you, and you both create this emotional thing that doesn't have anything to do with higher self, but all of a sudden you get red where it's supposed to be blues and purples where it's supposed to be greens and all that stuff there. It throws everything out of balance, and you end up with people getting the neurotic or whatever, or so dissatisfied with themselves that unconsciously they start abusing themselves to the point that it actually becomes unhealthy. These here, you can reach. Your emotional body is only going 3 foot. It ain't going further than 3 foot. It's impossible for it to go over 3 foot. So you can poke them directly. There isn't even any projection necessary. You can just poke the hell out of them. Work your way around, poking them guys. I mean, you can just poke the hell out of them. They can't resist that. I mean, you actually get all the way to them. I mean, you can just beat the hell out of them. Those are the ones that are problems because they're harder to deal with. All this dissatisfaction we have, people that are dissatisfied with themselves. Some very, very good friends and students of mine, dissatisfied with themselves. Why are you dissatisfied with yourself? See? It's a horrible thing. That's one of them little salamander things. You allowed somebody to do that to you. You allowed somebody or society or something to do that to you. That's not a normal part of self. That's not a normal part of self. You allowed that. So kick the shit out of it. Yes, Nancy.
Do you use your sword to get rid of emotions? You were saying that?
Oh yeah.
Emotions
Well,
and like,
you use the rainbow meditation to put the emotions where they belong. Believe me, is a few months down the road, honey, we're going to have your emotional body down to where instead of 3 foot, it's just 1 foot, then 6 inches. I mean, you have to have emotion to live.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have it. But you only need about 3 inches. But you really have to learn to control self totally before you can do that, where you can live with just that much emotion. But when you have any insecurity or doubt in self, that is caused by something outside of you. You've allowed someone or something to put that in your emotional body. But when things like that happen, when an individual gets that kind of stuff going on in their emotional body, because you allowed it. Now, doesn't do any good to run around and go, well, I don't know why I allowed that, and, you know, it's Ralph's fault, or Jane's fault, or this fault, or that. That part doesn't do any good. Just go ahead and poke it out of there. You know, once it's there, just get rid of it. Anger doesn't work. Anger just throws all that red up top and just interferes with your ability to exercise your will. You need to be all indigo, purple, and blue up here if you want your will to work. If there's any angst, any anger, any desire, it won't work. Questions?
So when we visualize our trident,
Yeah.
are we just visualizing our will? Is there anything specific?
No. This is a weapon. This is a weapon.
what she asked when you were offline was like the one in the book. Do we need to visualize the same words on it?
Not necessary at all.
Okay.
I mean, that's 60 years ago. We never really trained anyone that way. We were just trying to give them a concept of how it works. Your concept, your will. Your will. Okay? Active though, not passive. Aggressive. Aggressively active. It's a weapon. It's a psychic weapon. Right. You know,
I can decorate it with jewels if I want to, right?
Excuse me, honey?
I can decorate it any way I want to, right?
Correct. Correct.
Look out.
Do no harm. Do no harm.
Okay.
But but it's a weapon.
Okay, alright.
But not only defensive. I mean, when you're getting larvas that are way out on the edge of your spirit body and stuff, that's defensive. You're just running them off. You're just saying, stay out of my territory.
Right.
But when you're getting something that's inside of your emotional body, something that somebody helped you allow there, you know, you're killing the bastard. You're not killing the person that helped you put it there, but you're killing that piece of shit emotion.
Gotcha.
You're destroying that neurotic thing. You're destroying that thought form. You're killing it.
What took me away from myself.
Right. Right. Just and we all have them things. I mean, that's part of it. You know, and believe me, I'm a hotshot, and you know, I still get it sometimes. One of my kids die or something. It's like, what the fuck? You know. It's, you know, I just lost a wife a few years ago. I mean, it was like, you know, I mean, you know, I was jabbing at thought forms everywhere, and I was uncontrollable for a while. That's part of it. But when you're dealing with your emotional body, you get aggressive. You don't allow your emotions to tell you. You tell them what they're supposed to do. You know, some emotions are very pleasant. You like them. You want all of them you can get. A lot of them are a pain in the ass. Throw them away. Throw them away. Questions. But I had to save this part instead of doing it all last week because
It was too long.
I didn't want anybody trying to pound out one of them. So I've had people try to do that.
He wanted too soon.
I got a physical one.
Oh, hey.
I made a long time ago.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that either. But, you know, beheld you walking around the Galleria and all of a sudden you feel something, you break that up and start doing that. You're probably on the way to the state hospital, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta... But,
They don't usually let you out as fast as you want out.
excuse me, hon?
If you go to the state hospital, they don't let you out as fast as you want out.
No, it's easy to get in, it's hard to get out.
Right.
We had a little man in Houston, and his mom and dad were both school teachers, and intelligent people. And but this kid was out of his mind. You know, he'd beat up his dad. You know, a 17-year-old kid was bigger than his dad. I mean, he'd beat up his dad. He'd punch holes in the wall. You know, they had him on all these drugs and stuff like that. And I said, just send him out with Rose and I, and we took him on a little sailing trip. And I mean, this kid was a pretty radical kid. You know, I mean, I actually had to slap him a couple of times. You know, he raised his hand and took a swing at me. You know, okay, well, I'm not your dad, Pop. But he turned my goddamn E-perb on.
Can what?
My E-perb. On a boat, on a blue water boat, there's this thing called an E-perb, Emergency Positioning Radio Indicator Beacon. That means I'm sinking send the Navy, right?
Oh my God!
And it's a federal law. I mean, it's a major crime
Right.
turning that thing on. You know. I didn't know it was on. You know, all of a sudden there's a helicopter. Well, see, I had to get rid of that emotion. Otherwise, I'd have probably drowned the poor bastard. But once he got back to his mom, he didn't even want to take his Librium or anything anymore. He was fine. 3 weeks. it's emotional stuff is easy. It's easy. Physical stuff, it can be easy too if you can keep it in balance. There are magicians on the planet that are multimillionaires. There's nothing that says you cannot have. That's why a lot of people resist getting into hermetics. The teachers have to be minimalists. The teachers have to be minimalist. That's to stop abuse. You know, somebody can't buy you a helicopter because you're not allowed to have it. It just stops abuse. But there's nothing wrong with accumulating everything you want. Nothing at all. But if you allow yourself to want too much, then you're always in a state of desire and you can never get the energy to get your will together. But, you know, everybody's supposed to be a little different. It's all of that is irrelevant. The relevancy is your will, yourself. That's the only relevance. It's self. Another question.
Usually when I have emotion I want to get rid of, I just go kind of to a place that's more concentration, kind of removed from my anger. So, but I didn't...
You notice her most frequent emotion, right? And it's always
I
at
didn't
me.
say that. You're really good at provoking it. Anyway.
I think he tries.
Yeah, he does. From time to time. But I never didn't, then it was kind of fuzzy, so I still would like to go to this place that's removed from the emotion to do the thing, right?
Sure, why not?
It doesn't matter?
But you don't have to. What
don't
I'm
have to.
saying is if you're walking down the wall in the mall in the Galleria and you see something that pisses you off, I mean, nothing's to stop you from putting your thumb and your little finger like that and just, you know, so the
Nothing's
emotion...
to stop me from going to that place either.
Right, no, nothing stopped it. Aggie says she likes going up into her seventh chakra to deal with it. But there's nothing to stop you from doing that. But if you took a big sword out of your backpack and did it, it might. That's all I can say. You know, it's once you get used to doing it, I mean, you just throw them away. You just, you know, and you get strong. And you get strong. And if you get them little temperature strips and play with that a little bit, see, all of a sudden it's knowledge, it's not belief. All of a sudden, I can change this. And see, so all of a sudden, I mean, believe me, you start getting strong. And there's nothing wrong with strong.
Can't I throw that emotion into my spirit body, neutralize it and throw it into my spirit body instead of throwing it away?
Watch.
You've said that before.
If it's making you angry, and you got an elemental, feed it to the elemental. You can. It's gas. Emotion is just gas. You know, it can be. It doesn't have an active or passive, except as it affects you. But if it's affecting you at the present time, the best thing to do is get rid of it. When you want to turn around and use emotion in order to feed your spirit body, you deliberately create it. That's why I had that goddamn mohawk. I'd go walking in the supermarket, man, and I'd go walking by and people. I got sequins on my flip-flops, for Christ's sake. I'm serious. People walking in there, and it's like, you know, it's like people just keep filling your tank, man. It's like, you know, just look at that crazy old bastard and stuff like that. See, they're just throwing it away. There's nothing wrong with that. But if something's bugging you, get rid of it. Don't try and rationalize it. I mean, You remember all them gals, Alan, all the using gals that did so well? I mean, they'd turn around and, you know, if they had an extra hour, they'd go sit by the emergency room at the hospital. They'd just pull in the parking lot by the emergency room. Or by the county jail. And they just take it in. But if something's bugging you and it's in your emotional body, kick it out of there. Just kick it out of there. But, like, I'm going a step or two too far, but that's fine. If you know you need X amount of energy to do something, then create the energy. Get other people directing the energy at you so you can use it. It's not hard. We'll be getting into that as we get up into the 6th, 7th arcana and stuff. It's not hard. Get your tape. Get them temperature tapes. I'm sure they only cost a couple of bucks a piece. And just play with it. And I will be here next Monday night. We'll be back Sunday night. And we will be available by phone. And if anybody wants to gab with Aggie, now's the time. I'm going to have a cigarette.